What's good, y'all? Welcome to the first Friday video. I'm really excited to do this series. Today, we are going to be ranking every single head coach in the NFL as of now. Now, we got to start out with a couple of ground rules before I get into it, though. In the bottom half, all right, like the bottom few are going to be the new head coaches, except for one, because he did have a head coaching stint, but he hasn't really proven anything because he had a bad roster to deal with. Oh, and no, it's not Antonio Pierce. I just want to clarify that right now. So I'm really excited to get this started. So let's get right on into it. Starting out at number 32, I have Jerod Mayo. Now, I know Patriots fans are going to be really mad at me, but just hear me out here, all right? Jerod Mayo is very unproven. He's never been a defensive coordinator, never called defensive plays. He is a linebackers coach. So, now, obviously, that doesn't mean that he still can't be great. There have been non-play callers in the past that have been very good. So just don't get it twisted whenever I say that this is not something that has potential, because yes, he could be DeMeco Ryans, but I'm just not too optimistic about this hire, especially considering the fact that it was in-house. So, sorry Patriots fans, but I don't know about this hire. But I do hope that he is the next DeMeco Ryans, because y'all have had such a bad few years that I'm really hoping that y'all can get it together. All right, moving on. 31, we have Raheem Morris. This is the guy that I was talking about. This is the one that was the one that had a head coaching stint, didn't do too well, but he didn't have a good roster. You know, this is the guy that I was talking about. So, Raheem Morris, he called defensive plays in LA, and the defense was good. But it's really hard to have a bad defense whenever you are playing with Aaron Donald. Like, how on earth are you supposed to screw that up? Like, I just don't get that. So, Raheem Morris, he had a head coaching stint, wasn't really that great. He even coached in Atlanta as the interim head coach, and he did okay, I guess. But overall, again, I'm not too optimistic about this because I've seen him coach in the past. But I do think that, you know, he's finally been rehired as a head coach. And I have also seen that he is, you know, that he finally has a good roster. So I think that he could end up being better. And this is probably one of the ones that's more likely to climb up. All right. Number 30, I have Antonio Pierce. Antonio Pierce is a very interesting case because he's not really a, you know, he is also in the same boat as Jerod Mayo, as in he's not that proven, but he did get the interim tag, and he kept on leading his team to wins. One against the Chiefs whenever they absolutely boat raced them. And their quarterback didn't even complete a pass after, I can't remember if it was the first quarter or the first half, but either way, that's still impressive. So, Antonio Pierce, I think that he was a very good interim head coach, but we've got to see what he can do as a permanent head coach. Because whenever you're the interim, guys rally around you a lot easier because they're happy that the old guy is out of town. But now we've got to see what you do without the interim tag and trying to rally the guys around you, like, with a different purpose behind it. All right, moving on to number 29, we have Dave Canales. Now, I know that he has done a very good job as the offensive coordinator for the Bucs and was the quarterback's coach in Geno's best year. So I do think that this guy has the potential to move up big time, especially if he drags this roster to more than a 6-win season. I think that this guy has a lot of potential, and this bottom list has actually been really tight because apart from these last three, I have faith that these next few are going to be really good head coaches. So don't take this as a slander towards Dave Canales, because I do genuinely believe that he's going to show that he is legit, and he's going to show that he carried that Tampa Bay coaching staff. All right, moving on to number 28. we have my guy, Brian Callahan. Now, I know this is probably going to come off as a little biased, but, like, I'm sorry. I have a lot of faith in this dude. Like, he was able to help build up the Bengals offense whenever he was in Cincinnati. He was a very good quarterbacks coach, where he was quarterbacks coach for Peyton Manning. Obviously, that's not that hard to do, but I feel like I could be Peyton Manning's quarterback coach, and he would still have like 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 10 picks. But he's also been the quarterback coach with Stafford, and I think that he got there during his prime, so obviously, again, not like the biggest thing. But what really gets me excited is his quarterback coaching with Derek Carr. Whenever he was with Derek Carr, that was Derek Carr's like dang near MVP season. Like, that wasn't the Derek Carr that you know today, that has bad footwork and can, barely manage a team. Like, it was good Derek Carr. So that makes me think that he had to have something to do with that, right? Okay, so overall, I'm excited for Brian Callahan, and y'all have heard me rave about him in the past, so if y'all want to go see that, then, check out my channel. But anyway, moving on to number 27, I have Mike Macdonald. Now, I wanted to be biased. I really did. I wanted to put Brian Callahan at the top of the new head coaches list. But overall, Mike Macdonald, I believe, has the best chance to succeed. He's already getting put into a very good roster. He is a defensive guru, and he just has like the defensive Sean McVay type of feeling to him, where he's like, he's revolutionizing the defense. He's trying to find ways to make everything that he can, trying to experiment with defense. And he's gotten a lot of key guys in free agency and in the draft. So I really like Mike Macdonald, as you can tell, and honestly, I think that he is going to end up being the best head coach out of the new guys. Now, moving on, this is the actual head coaching rankings. Like, the new guys, it was just like a mini ranking of some sorts. Also, there is a guy that's in his first year. There are two guys in their first years with their teams, but they've coached in the past, and they actually have track records. So I'm ranking them according to that. But anyway, we have this head coaching ranking that was kind of miniature with the new guys. So now we move on to the real head coaches that have actually coached in the past. So at number 26, the worst head coach in the NFL, that's at least proven, I have Dennis Allen. This dude is incompetent with a capital I. I think that's the first letter of incompetent. My apologies if it's not. But he is not a good head coach at all. He's a very good defensive coordinator, but you have that talented of a roster, and you can't even make the playoffs. If anyone else was in there, like, I think that every single person ranked ahead of him, if they were with the New Orleans Saints, they would have easily won that division last year. Quite frankly, I don't think it would have even been close. But you still have to consider the fact that it could be Derek Carr. And it could have just been Pete Carmichael. If he can't succeed with his new head, if he can't succeed now, he's gonna get fired. And if I'm being honest, like, I think that Vrabel is the perfect fit there. But anyway, moving on to 25, I have Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles is not as incompetent as Dennis Allen, but he's still not that great. Like, obviously, he didn't hold back his team enough to the point where they couldn't make the playoffs, but like, that team could have also gone 10-7 or even 11-6. I think they could have honestly made it deeper into the playoffs, just judging by the way that Baker was playing. So honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of Todd Bowles, and that is also another place that someone like a Vrabel or a Ben Johnson could end up going. So that's just my personal opinion on the matter, though. So anyway, moving on. Number 24, I have Mike McCarthy. Here's a guy that has uber talented rosters every single year, and still finds a way to fail. Like, what's dude thinking about during some of his games? Like, is he really only focused on Big Macs or something? Like, what's going on here? I can't make too much fun of him for being big because, well, look at me. But he is the Doc Rivers of football. He has really talented rosters. He's the ultimate floor. He's the ultimate guy that's going to make your floor higher, but he is not going to make your ceiling higher. And he may actually lower that ceiling, if we're being completely honest. Honestly, Mike McCarthy is, like, very inconsistent, too. Like, there will be some weeks where he has amazing coaching, but there will be some weeks where he just craps the bed and does absolutely horrible with the talent that he has, which is shocking because I feel like that you could put a lot of other dudes in Dallas and they would end up being just absolutely incredible as head coaches there, and Dallas could very well have won a Super Bowl, but Jerry is too egotistical to fire Mike McCarthy because he doesn't want to admit that he may have made a mistake, just like he did with Jason Garrett. All right, moving on. Number 23, I have Matt Eberflus. This guy's a little bit unproven, if I'm being honest, because his roster wasn't that great, but, like, he still isn't, like, some amazing guru or anything. Like, I could see him proving me wrong this year, and apart from Raheem Morris back at 31, this dude has the most potential to move up on this list. And I genuinely believe that he could be top 15 if this roster ends up performing. But if the offense can't get going and the defense does nothing, then I am all off on Matt Eberflus, and he should be fired. He probably should have been fired this year because I feel like that they needed somebody to come in and develop Caleb. But, you know, I guess not. Anyway, moving on. Number 22 is Dan Quinn. This dude angers me. He is literally just what the Commanders had with Ron Rivera. Maybe a little bit better, but, like, he has made it to a Super Bowl. I'll give him that. He did that, but he really didn't do anything else in his coaching tenure in Atlanta. Like, he had a couple of good seasons, but, like, let's think about this. Whenever they made the playoffs, or whenever they made the Super Bowl, that defense was not that great. Like, I just don't get it. Like, I don't think that he's that great. I think Kyle Shanahan carried that coaching staff incredibly hard until the second half of the Super Bowl, which we all know how that ended. But golly, man, like, Dan Quinn, I feel like that I don't think that he's that good at all. Anyway, moving on to number 21, I have Jonathan Gannon. Okay, this is also one that has a lot of potential to move up because I do really like what's going on in Arizona right now. The team played hard for him last year. They were able to get like a 4-13 record, but I do genuinely believe that he could also, like, that first year could have just been like, you know, the players grappled onto him, I feel like, potentially because he was the only coach that would take a shot at them and actually go with them. So, you know, obviously I could be dead wrong on that, and I feel like I'm going to be dead wrong about most of this list, but it's just something to consider. Anyway, moving on, we have Robert Saleh. Now, this dude has had the most unfair coaching tenure potentially in NFL history. Bro has had to have Zach Wilson for 3 years, and the roster still somehow goes like 7-10. Like, if you are going 7-10 with Zach Wilson as your quarterback, I feel like that you're doing something right. I think that this dude could be ranked significantly higher if it wasn't for the fact that he had Zach Wilson at quarterback. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to do wonders for that team. As long as he's just a game manager, it'll be fine. That team can make the playoffs. And I think that Robert Saleh is a good defensive mind. And overall, I am just really excited to see what that Jets team does this year. All right, moving on. Number 19, I have Doug Peterson. Super Bowl winning head coach this low, I know. But after like 20, this list gets really tight. Like, everyone from like 19 to 10, I could have very easily put in the top 10. Or 19 to 11, I could have very easily put into the top 10. But I decided not to for specific reasons. The specific reason for Doug Peterson is that, are we sure that he is really all that great? Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like that he may be, like, having the Dabo effect where, like, he's stuck in, like, 2018 or something like that. Like, he didn't use Calvin Ridley correctly. The team just did not perform up to standards last year. They could have very easily been the best. They could have very easily been the best team in the AFC South, and they should have made the playoffs, let's be real. But here we are, and the Titans beat them in the last week of the season for goodness knows why, but it's just, no, like, just, I really don't like that. I get weird vibes about Doug Peterson, and I really like him, but I hope that he still continues to be bad, because obviously, you know, I'm a Titans fan, so I want that team to be as bad as they can possibly be, so. Anyway, moving on to number 18. Oh boy, I am about to ruffle some feathers with this one. People are going to be really mad. But whatever, I have Sean Payton at 18. All right, I know he's an offensive guru. He's a great offensive mind, and he has won a Super Bowl. But I just have to say this. What has he done outside of Drew Brees? He had like 1 year without Drew Brees. He went 9-8, which, you know, good on him. If I would have seen that full season and they would have made, if I would have seen a full season with Jameis and they made the playoffs, I would have told you 100% this guy is top 5. But I just haven't seen enough of him without Drew Brees to tell you that this guy is one of the best offensive minds of our generation. Or of the past generation. I'm not too sure how that works. But anyway, if he succeeds with Bo Nix and he develops him and Bo Nix ends up being the baller that he thinks he's going to be, I am going to be all in on Sean Payton. He may end up being one of the best head coaches in NFL history to me. But as of now, I have him ranked at 18. I just got to see him do something else without Drew Brees. And you'll see that because somebody did something without their star quarterback as an offensive mind, that makes them ranked significantly higher on my list. We'll get to him, and you probably know who he is, but I'll just move on for now. Number 17, I have Brian Daboll. You see what I mean? Like, this dude just won Coach of the Year a few years ago, and he's all the way down here at 18. Or 17. So, I also really like Daboll, but he didn't do well last season. He kind of lucked into the playoffs the year before that and beat a fraudulent Vikings team. Oh, I'm not too sure what's going to happen here. Daniel Jones isn't really that great. He's just stuck between a rock and a hard place because upper management has made 1 or 2 bad decisions. And that offense, if he can't, you know, just cook up some wizardry, that offense is screwed. All right, moving on. Number 16, I have Mike McDaniel. This one's also a little controversial because I know people think that he's like the Wonder Boy offensive genius that Sean McVay was a few years ago and still is. Again, we'll get back to him. But I'm not too sure about this guy. Like, he beats up on bad teams. He starts out hot in the first half, completely falls apart in the second half of the season. So, I don't know. Maybe if he had a better quarterback than Tua, or he had a better, or if he had overall just, you know, better game planning from the defense and was not as unlucky with injuries, I would put him higher. But I just don't know about this guy. I got to see him. I got to see this team perform from the beginning of the season to the very end of the season. And I got to see him win at least one playoff game. All right. Moving on. Number 15, I have Nick Sirianni. Again, another really good head coach that I had to put down here because there are just so many good head coaches in the NFL right now. And the only reason that I put him down here is because I feel like that every time that I hear about his team's success, everybody is praising the coordinators. Whenever the team is not doing good, I hear about the coordinators. I never hear about what Sirianni is doing. So I just don't know if Sirianni is like that amazing. Like, I think that the biggest reason that he is up this high is because he's a coordinator hiring genius. Obviously, Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio are going to do wonders with the Eagles. I just think that I haven't seen him, get praise for the stuff that he's doing. But anyway, and he whines a lot. And I have a personal vendetta against him because I just don't like him at all. He's very unlikable. But obviously, I had to put personal biases aside. If personal biases were included, I would have him in the 20s. But anyway, moving on, number 14, I have Zach Taylor. Okay, so this dude is weird to talk about because, he calls plays. From what I can tell, some of the fans in Cincinnati really do not like his play calling abilities. So I don't know what to make of this dude because, yes, he has had really good teams, but are we sure that isn't because of the star-studded roster that he's had or that really good offensive coordinator that he's had? Are we sure that he is not, just a little, I don't know. I just don't know about him. If he starts calling better plays, he'll probably be ranked higher, or if he wins a Super Bowl with the team. So, yeah. Moving on, at number 13, I have Shane Steichen. Shane Steichen is a very, very good head coach. He almost took a Gardner Minshew-led team to the playoffs. Now, yes, was it his fault on that last play, throwing it to a third-string running back to try and get a first down? 100%. But I feel like that completely overshadows the great play calling that he had all year. Oh, I think that's a little unfair to completely criticize him for that one play call. And if Anthony Richardson is as good as they're expecting him to be, the Colts could be a little dangerous, as much as I hate to admit that. So, man, I'm honestly not too sure about how Anthony Richardson's going to do, and that's why I have him ranked at 13. But number 12 is Kevin O'Connell. This dude carried that roster last year to at least being manageable, or at least fun to watch, because without Kirk Cousins, this team should have completely fallen apart, and they should have just not been good at all, but they stayed competitive. Kevin O'Connell is a very good offensive mind, and I think that he's a very good head coach. I think that what I said what I said a while ago, you can ask my family about this. I said that I think that Kevin O'Connell has the best potential to be the best head coach out of all of the new head coaches whenever he was in his hiring cycle. And I can't remember who else was in there specifically, but from what I feel like, it feels like that he is the best he's the best head coach to come out of that cycle. Maybe someone else was hired, but hey, I can't remember. Moving on, number 11, I have Jim Harbaugh. Sorry, my handwriting is bad, but again, should I consider the fact that he hasn't coached in the NFL for 8 years? Yeah, I probably should, but I don't care. Jim Harbaugh is a winner through and through. Now, will his ground and pound identity work in the NFL today? I'm not too sure. But I do see this dude potentially bringing the Chargers that elusive Super Bowl ring. And I know how ridiculous that sounds. I know. But I genuinely believe that this team is built with the right stuff. I think that Harbaugh is the guy. And I do think that Harbaugh will bring this team to at least a competitive 7-10 and potentially an 11-6 wild card spot. So I do think that he needs some time, though. So I am going more for the competitive 7-10, but he is genuinely one of the best head coaches in the NFL, and he won a national championship with Michigan, so that obviously had to help him out. Anyway, moving on, we have Sean McDermott at number 10. Now, Sean McDermott is also another interesting case because he's done amazing things with the roster that he has had, but he also has Josh Allen. And combine that with the fact that I feel like the Buffalo fans are slowly starting to get fed up with him because they feel like that he's not doing the right thing whenever he is, considering the fact that he hasn't gotten close to the AFC Championship since 2020. And whenever he does win playoff games, he usually beats up on some really crappy team, or he beats up on a team that's youthful and inexperienced. And then he gets eliminated by the Chiefs. So if he can get that monkey off of his back and beat the Chiefs, then I think that it's very obvious that he should be ranked significantly higher on this list. But anyway, moving on to number 9, we have Kevin Stefanski. This dude's good. Like, I am appalled by the fact that he was able to take a Joe Flacco-led Cleveland Browns team and bring them to a playoff spot. Now, did they get their butts whooped in the first round by the Texans? Yeah, but I'm still just in complete shock and awe that this guy has done what he's done over the past few years. Now, he has had a couple of iffy seasons. Like, he had a pretty bad season with the second year when Baker was in his last year starting. But I do genuinely believe that if they would have started Case Keenum that year, they would have made the playoffs. So, pick your poison there. But then the next year, they had Deshaun Watson suspended for half of the season. And that was just bad upper management decision-making to trade 3 first-round picks for that man. I really don't think that most of the team's failures have been on Stefanski, except for not starting Keenum. So I do genuinely believe that this is a great culture. He is a quarterback guru for sure. So I'm really excited to see what the Browns can do over the next few years. All right, moving on to number 8, I have Dan Campbell. These are the really good head coaches without a doubt. Dan Campbell has came into Detroit and turned that culture way around. All right, it's gritty, it's tough. He's a good coordinator hiring guy, just judging by the fact that he was able to interview Ben Johnson and hire him. Overall, great head coach. Detroit is coming for you. All right, don't be underestimating this team whenever the season comes around, because they are going to be beastly. All right, moving on to number 7, I have John Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh's brother. Now, the only reason that he ranks so far ahead of him is because he's won a Super Bowl and he's been in the NFL more recently. So, John Harbaugh has had a winning culture. He's done a lot whenever his injuries have come to bite him in the tail. So, overall, amazing head coach. And I am very excited, again, to see what the Ravens do. Hopefully, Lamar can stay healthy. All right. Moving on to number 6, I have DeMeco Ryans. DeMeco Ryans, this may be a little premature. Call me crazy, but whatever. I genuinely believe that he is a top 8 head coach in this league. He came into Houston. Now, obviously, C.J. Stroud was kind of the heart and soul of that team, but he came into Houston, and he turned that entire culture around. It had been looking really rough for Houston, and we thought that it would be another, 6 years until we saw them be great. But they just immediately ended up being an amazing football team. Why? Because C.J. Stroud's great, and DeMeco Ryans is even better. He even hired Bobby Slowick, who I think is a good offensive coordinator. I know that a lot of people will tell you that Bobby Slowick is horrible, but I do think that he's just learning on the job. So anyway, moving on, we're in the top 5. This is whenever we get knee deep. These are the elites of the elites. These are the best head coaches in the NFL, and you can't deny it. Number 5, I have Matt LaFleur. Now, this is the guy that I was referring to earlier whenever I said there's going to be a guy on here that I said was not completely proven before he lost his star quarterback, but now that he's gotten that monkey off of his back and he has won a playoff game without Aaron Rodgers or Davante Adams, he deserves this ranking. Good head coach, great record, overall just one of the best head coaches in the NFL. Now, I changed this up because at number 4, I have Mike Tomlin. I originally had LaFleur and Tomlin flipped, but I don't think that's fair because Tomlin has never had a losing season in his entire career. That is still a ridiculous stat. He's won 2 Super Bowls, and he has done everything that he can for Pittsburgh. Now, the only reason I have him ranked at 4 is because something tells me that he's starting to lose a step a little bit. Not because his teams are bad, but because of the fact that he himself is not that. Because he hasn't really done that much in the playoffs recently. Oh, obviously, what can you do whenever you have Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph as your starting quarterbacks and a washed-up Big Ben? So, I do think that he could end up potentially even jumping the next 2 guys that I have on here if they win a playoff game next year, and either of the quarterbacks that they have in there end up being good. So, that's just my thoughts on Mike Tomlin. Anyway, moving on. Number 3, Sean McVay. The best offensive mind, second best offensive mind in the NFL. And the top 2 really separate themselves from everybody else. Sean McVay was the original innovator for offense, pass-heavy, great quarterback guru. The offense has been clicking ever since he got there. Even whenever they were dealing with injuries, the offense at least kept games competitive. So he's had 1 bad season, and that was because Stafford got hurt. So I'm very excited to see what this team will be able to do this year. They could very well, because they don't have Aaron Donald, so there's no excuse. They don't have Aaron Donald, so there is an excuse for why the defense could be so bad. And they lost their defensive coordinator. But I am very confident that this team will still be as good as it was last year. All right, number 2, Kyle Shanahan. And he was very, let me think about what the good word for this one is. He was very mysterious for his first few years because people were just oh man, his record's not good, but he's dealt with a lot of injuries. And people were not too sure if they should call him a wonder boy or if they should just, stay back and just watch him burn and get fired. He's proven us all wrong whenever he has a healthy roster. Brock Purdy saved his job. Let's be real. Kyle Shanahan may not even be in consideration for this list if Trey Lance was still their quarterback. So I just want to put that out there. But y'all know exactly who number 1 is. Andy Reid. It's not even close. I don't think I even need to do that much explanation for this one. Has won Super Bowls, was big on trying to draft Mahomes, and overall is just the best head coach in the NFL as it stands. All right, that's the video. I'm starting to get a little tired, so thank you all for watching all the way through, and I'll have an end card right at the end there where you can watch my most recent episode of the Titans Rundown, and you can subscribe on both sides. But anyway, that's going to do it all for me. This has been every single head coach in the NFL ranked. I love y'all. And Titan.